last decade or so of talking of women in science, how this glass ceiling, why don't we have position of, high women occupying high positions in science and so on. And there have been a lot of, data generated in the last 5 to 6 years. And if you really look at that data, and that will give you some answers today, is when you have this in science, you have these academies of science, which really honor scientists who have contributed and immensely to scientific knowledge. And you look at fellows of the academy, you find that only 5.25% of the fellows of the Indian Academy of Sciences are women. Women, not Muslim women. Only 5.25% of the fellows of the academies, of the 3 academies of sciences of Bangalore, Allahabad, and Delhi are women. This is really, really low. And of these, only 4 of us, if you can call me a Muslim, that is, only 4 of us, or even call Geti Hassan a Muslim for that matter, only 4 of us are Muslim or come from Muslim backgrounds. So this is about 8%, and in all the history of the academies of sciences since 1932, not a good picture at all. When you look at the associates, yes, I'm going to finish. When you look at the associates of the academy, the percentage is similar. 10% of the associates are younger people, so people who are now in the age group of 40 or so, currently. Only 10% are women, and of these, about 5% are Muslim, very low. You look at scientists employed by the CSIR, which has 40 institutions across the country, and the average varies in the number of women varies from about 10% to, in some labs, 30 to 35%. Most labs don't have a Muslim. Some labs like CDRI have 1, right? Like my institute has 1. You look at students then, the students are 41% Muslim women, 41% women. A lot of students pursue PhDs, do scientific research as part of their PhD programs, but then drop out. And so that when they come to faculty positions, they're only about 5 or 10%. So what is happening? You have to look at this problem in the context of problem of women in science, not in the context of problem of Muslim women in science. And because the percentages of Muslim women across this whole hierarchy of scientific position, at least, is about 6 to 10%, and that remains constant, whether it is the academy fellowship, whether it is a scientific position, or whether it is students, which are in large numbers girls. So I would like to end by then just bringing out one more point of where we go, in the future. And I think for me, as a person who mentors PhD students and have had a lot of, a couple of Muslim girls as my PhD students, I think the challenge then is to keep discussing this with them, and we keep discussing issues of, of social political nature as well as issues of religion, because as scientists, we challenge that paradigm. And I have to be open with my students when I talk about it. So this is challenging. It's not always easy, because of the 10 students in Syria, right, 2 of them wear the hijab. And how do you deal with them? It's difficult for us as scientists to really talk about our work or even address or even ask the right questions if we are wearing the hijab. We are compartmentalizing our mind. We will not be able to ask the right questions. And I say this not only for Muslim women, this is true also for a lot of Hindu girls who've come from backgrounds where you can't say a shlok and start a PCR reaction. I mean, there was a student who did that. You can't have these, you can't. And we have to deal with this. So we have to deal with these questions with our students all the time. I don't know if in the humanities you deal with it, but we do deal with it. And we have to keep, talking about it in very, we have to sort of be very diplomatic and talk about these things in certain ways. And this has to be addressed. So, one more concern that I have with this entire education system, that's the way it's moving now, and I'll end here, is this whole question of madrasa teaching versus government school teaching. It's all very well for this government to say that, the madrasa will be modernized, the courses will be changed, and people are very happy about it, about the fact that madrasas are getting funding and, things are happening and so on and so forth. But this is a very dangerous thing, because the moment you start sending Muslim children to madrasas, and the government schools then cater only to Hindu children, they are not going to play together, grow up together. So you're essentially extending the divisive agenda of the present government. And by doing so, you are not able to, you will not, this is just going to happen in the future, that in the villages and small towns, where madrasas, and even in cities, where madrasas are becoming the center where most Muslim children, including Muslim girls, are going to study. This divisive agenda is going to be strengthened. And I think that's something that needs to be challenged now. We should not accept madrasa education as the way forward for Muslim education.
Thank you very much indeed. My talk was going to take a different trajectory. Oh, sorry.
He walked away.
Yeah, so obviously people are pretty tired now, and I won't take too much of your time. It, yeah. But it's too cold there, so I thought I'll stand. You know, the title of this session is "The Way Forward" or "Charting the Way Forward," and there's this lovely exhibition upstairs where which is where we highlight all the activists and intellectuals, etc. They are from a different generation, and I have met during the course of my work in last 15, 20 years. I've happened to travel across India, Gujarat, Bihar, Kashmir, etc. And I've met several young women, and coming from very, very humble background. And so I'll quickly describe 2, 3 women whom I have interacted with over the years, and figure out if we can learn from something and something from them. This is a crisis kind of a situation. I mean, to suggest the way forward, we've all been grappling for many years. What's the way forward? And I don't have any answers, and I don't know whether. But yeah, so I thought I'll just share a bit of from their lives and see if we can learn from something from them. So I met this young woman called Naseema Khatun, who's from Muzaffarpur in Bihar. She's a she was born in a sex workers family, and now she runs this very fabulous sex workers rights organization called Parcham. She was the first woman to have gone to school in her family. She says that the first time she decided to go to school was when there was a raid in the brothel or that where, and she was picked up by the police. She was taken. She was very young. She may be 4 or 5. She says then, and she was taken to a rescue home, etc. And there she met other women and girls and who were studying there, etc. And then she says that only then I realized at that age that which is the community I belong to and how stigmatized my parents, etc. are. The other woman I met, again, who's really been very inspiring, is this, again, a young woman called Fahmida Malik. She came from a very humble background, never had been to school, and she lives in Vatwa area of Ahmedabad. And she again says that the first time I realized the reality or the crisis was that when there was this violence in Gujarat. And she says that suddenly all the men from our family were running away. They were being taken to some other place. Women were staying behind. And then there was this attack on the community. And she says that I, along with other women, and she was much older. She was at that time maybe 18 or 19. And she says we were all taken to a mandir, and a Jain mandir in the neighborhood, and where we all hid. And we were given shelter. And people came looking for us, and then they went away. And luckily, as she says, all the men had gone away, and women were given shelter by this Pandit. So we were all saved. Now, these women, I've been working with NGO circles, so-called development work, etc., for many years. And what these women have actually demonstrated to me is several things. One, that they were all a product of crisis. They would never be, Naseema would never be this firebrand activist if she wasn't from that community which was stigmatized, which was where all kinds of repression the way she faced. Fahmida was also a product of a crisis, which would have, perhaps she would have gone to any other madrasa or a school if those riots hadn't happened. Both these women over these years have become, as I said, they'd never been to school. The exhibitions which we've seen upstairs, they all by and large come from a well-off family. They come from a certain class. These women have never been there, and they come from a very different background. The second thing which is very striking amongst them, in both these women, is that they have challenged the existing the existing conservative culture of the community they come from. Now what we see is that lot of middle class, upper caste women are wearing hijab, and they are coming back to those markers of religion. Now, both these women have actually are telling other women to come out from their own community, and yet they are very religious. Both of them offer namaz, pray namaz, they read Quran, they keep rozas. But what I find very interesting is that we humble women from lower caste, such depressed communities. For them, everyday life and their struggle, one of the part of their struggle is to challenge the existing notions of patriarchy, and they do it in a manner which is not theoretical, which is not very sorted out, but in their sort of everyday practical life. The third thing which I have found again is that because they are very compassionate. Compassionate in the sense that, like if you talk to Naseema, she will always tell you that, that police wala was very nice. He saved our life, and I'm very indebted to him. There are very nice people in the government. Though they are struggling against them, they are she is a sort of a woman who barged into Nitish Kumar when he's still the chief minister. He had a big meeting, and she barged in with several other comrades of hers, all sex workers, and disrupted the meeting. She was arrested. She was saying she was beaten up badly, arrested, etc. But even now, when you go, so there is a very practical and a very sort of what shall I say, a very realistic way of working with everyone, working with people even who are antagonistic to you. Fahmida also has been beaten up. She's been to jail. She's been in the forefront of fighting for civic amenities. She's grown. She runs a bank which is a small microfinance bank which has 3,000 women members. So this is the third thing. The fourth thing which I want to again highlight quickly is that they have reached out to, now if you go and meet the sex workers organization called Parcham, which we've highlighted in that book, you will find that they have reached out to it's no longer a Muslim woman. The Muzaffar, she says that people above, all the sex workers above Ganga are for some reason Muslims, the below Ganga a majority are Hindu women. But she went to across there was a raid on the sex workers thing in district across Ganga. She went there, they sat on a dharna, they were beaten up again, they were picked up. A sex worker, the basti of the sex workers had burned down, and now what you find is that they are all, now when you go, you'll find by and large they are Muslim and Dalit women, because upper caste women don't take on to this profession. Similarly, what you find with Fahmida is that now, earlier I remember after 2002, most of her comrades of women were by and large Muslims, but now what you see is they are, if you go and meet her, you will have her colleagues are from all communities, Dalit, Muslims, etc. The final thing, we don't have time, is that all these women have done, we amongst, there's an old left tradition which I thought I come from, is that you protest, we are always struggling against something. These women have struggled against the oppression, but they've also built things. And actually, this is what the women who are displayed above also did. They were all, most of them were during from the freedom struggle time. They were all also built, while they were fighting the British, they were also building institutions in their own small manner, doing something. I mean, it was so nice to see, if you go and meet Parcham office in Muzaffarpur, they come out with it's a excellent magazine called Jugnu, which the sex workers, it's bought out by the sex workers, and they have insisted that it will be published with the handwritten publication of each sex worker. So it's not a standardized from a printing press. So each handwriting is distinct on the magazine. So they say that this is for our identity. So handwriting is so essential for our identity. They have built inside one of the sex workers' house in that red light area, there is a vibrant IGNU center running on, where many women have gone and done MA, BA, etc., etc. If you go to meet Femida, you'll find they have built a small microfinance bank, which I believe is soon going to be recognized as, and they are carrying on with their movement, so these are things which I feel that there are a lot of these young women who have come out from crisis, and they are actually challenging, our established notions of patriarchy. When I go and tell them, भाई आप हिजाब पहन रही हैं, क्यों नहीं हिजाब पहनती हो? क्यों नहीं तुम, क्योंकि आजकल तो फैशन चल गया है. They will say कि नहीं हम नहीं, they won't have any sorted out answer. They will say कि नहीं हम नहीं समझ में आता है हमें, अगर हम ये पहनेंगे तो. And there is a lot of these days, for example, there is this whole they're so articulate when it comes to their own issues. I mean, this whole issue of rescuing sex workers versus rights of the sex workers. And they all say, the NGOs talk about right-based approach, which is a very typical bland. When you talk to them, they will say, हम अपनी हक की लड़ाई लड़ रहे. It has a different texture to it. हम अपनी हक की लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं, हमारी ये पहचान की लड़ाई है, हमारी इज्जत की लड़ाई है. हमारे माँ बाप थे अगर सेक्स वर्कर्स तो क्या, और जो हैं सेक्स वर्कर्स उनका ये हक है, अगर वो करना चाहती हैं तो करने दो उनको, मगर उनको इज्जत दो, वगैरह वगैरह. So I think the way forward, I think, is more documentation of such women, because they are living on crisis on every day. The way they engage with the state, none of us do. There is a police wala every other day on, and they have to engage with the hostilities of the state and hostilities of the VHP, hostilities of the Maulanas on everyday life. And the way they are coping with it, in a very humble, compassionate way, they have the strategies which perhaps we don't have. Thank you.
First of all, I must congratulate you, Sayyida Begum Sahib, for organizing this very important seminar. My talk was going to take a different trajectory altogether, but after hearing so much of sorrow from different members of the highly literate Muslim community, I'm quite taken aback, frankly, and I'm glad that I was here, that I've been here. So now, really, rather than talk of what I had come prepared for, we have to think of the way forward. Anyhow, the one important thing that we cannot forget is that to exhibit in our memory, to recall these great ladies, 20 ladies you have made a portraiture of. It's very important, because you cannot ignore history. A man without history is like a man without a memory. Can you not hear me?
No. The mobile is.
Fine, it's fine.
It's extremely important. It's extremely important that you've recreated these great personalities of the past. These women who came forward in the time of the independence movement, even before the independence movement, and stepped out of the parda, broke the glass ceiling, and did so much of good work to fashion together the concept of India as a nation, which is today getting fragmented. So, in another sense, it's very important that we have had this session, and historically, we can never ignore the past, because a man without history is like a man without memory. I came prepared to talk about the Parda system, the Zenana system, the other things, the need to go into the technological age, this thing, that thing, the other. And above all, to tell you about my very, very close associate, Begum Aziza Imam, who was really quite a divine person. You know, she's more than an ordinary high-class aristocrat. She had a divine spark. Wherever people were fighting with each other, all you needed was Aziza Imam to come there and talk to them. I, in a sense, grew up in her household. Because I was a lonely child, one sister, she was living in America. My mother was very old. So Aziza Imam herself was very lonely. And she was 10, 11 years a member of parliament. She was the daughter-in-law of Sir Ali Imam, the senior most member of the Viceroy's Council, the law member in the Viceroy's Council of Lord Hardinge, 1911. And also a family that had distinguished itself in every possible way. The remarkable thing about Aziza Imam was that her mind was in a state of tarana. You know what in classical music could be called tarana. It's a free mind, absolutely. Talking about Hindu and Muslim and things like that were unheard of only the other day. We had not heard of things like this. What has happened suddenly in India. So she was the kind of person, she lived on South Avenue and you would find a stream of people walking up and down, waiting for her to come, knowing that their work would get done. She had that some kind of एक तरह की कशिश थी उनमें, a divine spark. I somehow became very close to her, like a younger brother. I was a director in the government of India. I was a member of the IAS then. And it's very funny. We later discovered that we are family friends also so it goes beyond a century now. And today I very proudly introduce you to her grandson. Come, Nasir. We have Mr. Aziza, Begum Aziza Imam's grandson. He was not even 1 year old when he has played in my arms. And today he's about 37 years old, and the vice president of the Citibank. So Delhi was like that. It was a place like that. There was so much of love here, and I must give it to people like Madam Gandhi, that she was such a gracious human being. They were the ladies of that time, who had that grace. In fact, I'll just recount a small incident. Madam Gandhi, she never walked, she used to run. Can you hear me? Am I too fast? Anything wrong with me?
No, it's fine.
Okay. You keep pointing out. And once Begum Imam and I were standing and the police pushed us against the wall. Madam aa rahe hain. And all we wanted to do was to go upstairs and take some appointment or something. This is long ago. Begum Saab and I were against the wall, and Madam Gandhi retraced her steps all the way back and salamed Begum Imam. She said, "Koi kaam ho, aap chaliye mere saath." She said, "Mera koi kaam nahi hai. Come and have a cup of tea with me." You know, all those graces of that time have gone away. Begum Imam knew 7 languages. She was a classical musician. And, you know, she did a lot of social work. She was chairman of the Bihar Welfare Association. She got 40 girls rescued from prostitution and rehabilitated. बहुत कुछ किया उन्होंने. So when Begum Imam was dying, then the time came for her death. After all, we are all visitors in this life. I was then the Commissioner of Firozpur Division. Raat ko main chalta aaya, bhagta hua aaya. And I stood at the door. She had got Alzheimer's disease, but somehow she recognized me. I said, Didi, you'll be well. She said, I don't think so. And then she died. And then there was a smile kind of on her face. So just recite this last line. She loved this line.
Robin made me promise that I'll recite this. I don't know much Farsi. कोई फारसी वाला है यहाँ? सिद्दीक भाई, कौन है?
आप चलिए ना.
अच्छा चलिए. निशाने मर्द मोमिन बातु गोयम. ये बड़ा अच्छा है to conclude this morning, afternoon, and now early evening. And I think we all think about life and death. So, and in the light of the Pathbreakers also, निशाने मर्द मोमिन बातु गोयम चु मर गायद tabassum bar labe oost. I'm going to tell you the meaning of this, but I can also tell you that we have all grown up with this couplet. If Begum Imam recited it, I'm sure Badruddin Sahab recited it, Khushwant recited it, my own father and my sister sitting there recited it. I'm sure Siddiq Bhai's father and mother both recited it. So what it means is, again, Nishane marde momin batu goyam chu mar gayat tabassum bar labe oost. You ask me of the sign, who is the man of faith? You ask me the sign of who is the man of faith. Of course, everything is mard, nothing is aurat. Farsi shairi mein bhi aur har shairi mein bhi. You ask me the sign of the man of faith. When death comes, there is a smile on the lips. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Huda announced the high tea.
Begum Sahab, thank you very much for organizing this.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you very, very much to all our eminent panelists. And ladies and gentlemen, you've been such an amazing, such an engaging audience. We are truly, truly grateful for each one of you for gracing this colloquium with your eminent presence. Thank you so, so very much. And I believe we all need one huge round of applause for all of us, for the wonderful speakers, for the audience. And last but definitely not the least, a huge, huge round of applause for Dr. Saida Hamid, who's been such an inspiration. Thank you so much, Saida ji. We are truly grateful for bringing out such eminent personalities, and thank you so much for having all of us here. And last but not the least, I would also like to conclude by saying that we, the youth, I believe now, especially after attending such a colloquium, have a huge responsibility on our shoulders. We need to now be the torchbearers and possibly, try to leave footprints on the sands of time, because indeed it is us who need to now, you've charted the way forward, and of course we need to think about it and definitely act on it. So thank you so very much once again. I conclude here, and I could think of no better way by concluding this colloquium with some beautiful couplets by Maulana Altaf Hussain Hali from his Chup Ki Daad. This was composed in 1905. It goes something like this. ए माओ बहनों बेटियों, ए माओ बहनों बेटियों, दुनिया की जीनत तुमसे है, दुनिया की जीनत तुमसे है, मुल्कों की बस्ती हो तुम्ही, मुल्कों की बस्ती हो तुम्ही, कौमों की इज्जत तुमसे है. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. And please join us for a high tea out there. And once again, you've been such a wonderful audience. Thank you so much. And God bless you. Assalamu alaikum, adab, and Jai Hind.